up, guys? Thank you so much for being here. So today we're talking about something super special, and that's my Floyds Custom Shop M&P. All right, we are clear here. Mag's empty. Now I've had this thing for about a month now, and I've shot probably around 500 or 600 rounds. Haven't had a single malfunction. I mean, other than the fact that the very first time I went to shoot it, I was like way too excited to shoot it because I've been looking forward to it. So I didn't even put on any hearing protection or anything, and I just basically blew my eardrums out. It was ridiculous. It was bad. But that's just what happens when you are looking forward to something a little too much. And I'm sure some of you watching have made a similar mistake. Shot a bunch of your typical 115 grain like bulk FMJ. I shot a good amount of 147 grain like subsonics, and then I did shoot my actual carry ammo because obviously I want to make sure it runs, and it ran no problem, and that's the Hornady Critical Defense. And again, not a single issue through all 500 rounds, which is obviously super important to me. I have a green, like OD green M&P pistol. It's a full frame one. It's actually one of their metal guns, and I love it. It's super reliable, super good, but it comes with a comp that actually attaches to the end of the barrel, so it's not built into the barrel and slide. And I mean, it ran fairly good, but it was not nearly as reliable as I would have liked. I mean, don't get me wrong, it made the gun soft shooting, but you know, you want it to be 100% reliable or as close to that as possible. Now let's talk about what they did to the gun, because they did quite a bit, and afterwards we'll talk about if it's worth it. Now real quick, just want to start off by saying that I didn't have to pay for any of this, so obviously for me it was worth it, but I'm going to get more into, you know, the different costs of the different things and tell you what I think would actually be worth really doing. But with that being said, thank you so much to Floyd's Custom Shop. They did a great job, and you know, I really appreciate you guys. And this video isn't sponsored by them, so it's not like there's any contracts or money given. I don't have to say certain things, you know, they did this for me for free just to kind of test out and review, and then I tell you guys the results. So this started off as just your basic M&P 2.0 compact, the 4-inch barrels version. And at one point I tried to have some Cerakote done to it, but it just kind of turned out really bad. It was actually really disappointing. I kept the frame brown just because it wasn't too bad, but the slide was messed up. So for a long time, I just had like a bare metal looking slide because I basically sanded off the Cerakote and just put a clear coat on there. So with that, just ignore the frame for now because I'll probably have some more work done on that in the future. But this is all about the slide and the barrel and what they did. And this thing just turned out ridiculously good. But obviously they completely changed the slide serrations, even the ones in the rear. They cut it for a red dot. All these slide serrations are super cool looking because not only are they just unique, but they also kind of have like a slit in each one so you can kind of see through there, but it's still insanely rigid. It's not like now, you know, it's any less durable or anything like that. And by the way, they offer different styles of serrations depending on, you know, what you might like. And so this is actually called the Kraken. And again, they've got different ones if this is a little too much for you, but all of them look pretty cool to me. This is just the one that I chose. And I had it cut directly for an EPS red dot, so that way I didn't need any kind of base plates. I could just mount my dot directly to the slide, which obviously allows it to sit a little lower. And that's been great. I haven't had any issues with it. And then as for the porting, so I went with the Enforcer porting because that was his recommendation. If you want the traditional porting on the top, obviously that's on the barrel as well, and they do offer an option like that as well, but they said this was the most effective porting that they offer, and so I just went with it. And I mean, it looks cool too, and it actually is really effective. And so as for the barrel, oh, and real quick, obviously I had them Cerakoted as well, so that was the last step. But yeah, I don't think I'm missing anything. It was the EPS cut, the porting, the slide serrations, and the Cerakote. And as for the barrel, so they did do that Enforcer porting, which has the ports on the sides. And instead of me trying to describe or explain why this style of porting is so effective, I'm just gonna read you the email that he sent me, or at least parts of it, because I mean, he knows what he's talking about, obviously, since it's his company. Porting on the nose like we do in the Enforcer gives you the most leverage and longest burn time possible. Similar to a comp, but without adding any extra length or weight. We backbore to the ported section so you don't get pieces of the bullet jacketing peeling off with the ports. Our backbore is still tight to the bullet, unlike what some other manufacturers do. So because of this, the gases are forced out of the ports properly. And not only is their Enforcer porting more effective, but also when you get the port on the top, you end up having to move your iron sight back, and so then you just have that a little shorter sight radius. Then he mentions that the enforcer porting is on the sides only, but they're angled upwards, and so they function as both. It actually is more effective than the Commander, which is their version of porting that's only on the top, because the recoil impulse is what leads to most of the muzzle rise in a pistol, so taming that down keeps it on target better. Then he goes on to say how that's why they stopped making comps in the past, just because this is just so much more effective. And again, because of how they do it, it just remains ultra reliable. And that was one of my biggest concerns, obviously coming off a gun with an external comp on it that you thread on. You know, it just wasn't ultra reliable. And so if you're gonna have a carry gun, I mean, it's extra important that it does not have any reliability issues. My full-size M&P with that external comp, it was a little softer shooting than this guy. But that could also just be because there's more weight on that gun. It's bigger, the frame's bigger, everything about it. But this one has no issues whatsoever, and that's what's most important to me. And again, this did make quite a difference. And so it just gives me a peace of mind knowing that they kind of pay attention to every single detail and researched everything to make it as reliable as possible, while still, you know, reducing as much recoil as you can. And then they did flute the barrel as well, which takes a little weight off and makes it look cool as well. Now, if you're wondering about accuracy, because they do have to backbore the barrel in order to port it, so you're kind of losing a little bit of rifling, obviously. I'm sure in theory at long distances, you probably do lose a tiny bit of accuracy, but as far as how I train and how I practice with this gun, because this is, you know, one of my carry guns, I personally didn't notice any change in the accuracy. And I did mostly shoot this within 15 yards, but for the sake of, you know, seeing if I can still hit further, I did back up to about 45 yards, and it wasn't any more difficult than it was before. Pretty good for a 10-round group. I mean, 8 of them are in this little string that's basically the length of my thumb. Now, as for the breakdown of the cost of each thing, because obviously you don't have to go all out and spend a bunch of money to do all of it. All right, so the Kraken style serrations, which is obviously the entire slide, was $300. Getting it cut for a red dot was $125, but obviously a lot of you could skip that because a lot of guns now come with the red dot cut. Although it is nice having it directly cut for the optic that I chose. The Cerakote job, which I picked burnt bronze, was 75 bucks, which I didn't think was bad at all. The fluting on the barrel was also 75 bucks. Now the most important part on this whole thing is the porting, and the enforcer porting costs 225 bucks, which I don't think is that bad considering everything that they do. And they even crown the end of the barrel, which I forgot to mention earlier, which actually provides like a smooth, precise transition for the bullet as it leaves the muzzle. By the way, if you're wondering why my phone case is like a lavender color, it wasn't my first choice. My old case kind of got messed up, and we had ordered a case for my wife's phone because she thought she was going to be buying the same phone as me. She ended up getting a different phone, and so we had an extra case, whatever. Now obviously the serrations are awesome, and it's a big part of what actually changes the look of the gun and just makes it look so cool. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's not nearly as important, at least in my opinion, as the actual porting of the barrel. Although it does help with, like, you know, manipulating the gun, doing your press checks and all that. It's just like very tacky and easy to do, while at the same time not being like overly aggressive. I know it looks super crazy, it looks wild, but it's not uncomfortable whatsoever. And with all that being said, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching till the end of the video. And if you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments down below. I try to do my best to get to all those as quickly as I can. And definitely stick around for the future because I plan on doing more to this frame so I can just kind of make this my ultimate build. And if you guys like this kind of content, anything that has to do with like gun reviews, outdoor backpack reviews, any other kind of gear, definitely subscribe. I got a good amount of videos on my channel. We'll be putting out a ton more in the future, including this ultimate build whenever I finally like max it out. But with all that being said, just thank you so much again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Scared the heck out of me. You guys see that little bunny? So I just pulled up to a spot out here to try and set up to make a video. And you guys see what I see over there laying down? Looks like 2 antelope. I'm shocked that they haven't taken off. I mean, I'm literally walking straight at them, and they're really not afraid of me. Hope I don't get charged at. That's kind of a big boy. Not gonna lie, it's kind of a slightly intimidating. Oh, okay. The lady's getting a little nervous. The man is not nervous at all. This is so cool. Male and female antelope. So I'm actually surprised that I was able to see them, because I just pulled up and I was gonna start carrying my stuff over to where I like to set up my targets. A little bit far away. They were over in those darker bushes. You know, you could see with this wide lens, it wasn't quite as close as it looked on that other lens. Okay, I'm actually surprised to see that these guys came closer to me, like walked in my direction. I'm gonna see if I can shoo them away. The fact that they're still not like running off, they're kind of circling back instead of just going away from me. It's so odd.